Family, let me tell you something. Whenever the royals are drowning in scandal, the British tabloids pull out the same tired old playbook. Blame Harry and Meghan. And this week, it's as clear as daylight. Now, the news cycle has been buzzing about Sarah Ferguson. Yes, Fergie. And those resurfaced emails showing how cosy she was with Jeffrey Epstein even after pledging to cut ties. That's a scandal, full stop. We're talking about real-world connections to a convicted sex offender, but somehow, like magic, the narrative has shifted. Suddenly, the headlines are no longer just about Fergie and Andrew. They're dragging Meghan and Harry into the mess. And who's leading the charge? The usual suspects. Sarah Vine over at the Daily Fail, drawing grotesque comparisons between Meghan Markle, who bravely spoke out about racism, and Sarah Ferguson, who willingly cozied up to Epstein. Then we've got Lee Cohen over at GB News, spewing unhinged nonsense about how the Yorks and the Sussexes are supposedly institutional threats. Let's pause here. Fergie was emailing Epstein. Meghan was talking about racism. These are not the same thing at all, but this is the dirty game the Rota plays. Every time Prince Andrew's name creeps back into the spotlight, every time his shameful friendship with Epstein rears its head, here come the Sussex scapegoat stories, designed to distract the public and to protect the institution. They did it in 2019. They're doing it again now. Let's not forget, the Sussexes didn't need to be removed from the royal family. They left. They walked away on their own terms because they were tired of being attacked and exploited by that very institution. 5 years in California, thriving, building their brand, raising Archie and Lily in peace. But still, here comes Cohen, trying to convince the public that Harry and Meghan are somehow a bigger danger than the Yorks' association with Epstein. That's not journalism, that's propaganda. And let's dig into his argument because it falls apart under the slightest scrutiny. Cohen writes that the Sussexes chose spectacle over discretion, grievance over gratitude. Well, let's talk about that. Harry and Meghan tried discretion. They tried staying silent. What did it get them? A non-stop tabloid smear campaign, palace leaks, and an orchestrated character assassination. Speaking their truth was the only way to reclaim their narrative. And guess what? Their Netflix projects, their book, their interviews, they weren't about burning bridges. They were about pulling the mask off a corrupt system that thrives on racism, classism, and misogyny. Now, Cohen also moans about Harry and Meghan weaponizing their royal past. Let me ask you this. When William launches a PR campaign about his future king role, when Kate's PR machine pumps out sugary stories about her fashion choices, isn't that also weaponizing their royal status? Isn't that commercializing the monarchy for PR and press coverage? The difference is Harry and Meghan are self-made. They don't rely on taxpayer money. They don't need the monarchy's crumbling system to stay relevant. That's what scares the institution. Because let's be real, the monarchy's declining popularity has nothing to do with Harry and Meghan. It has everything to do with a family and a system that protected Prince Andrew, ignored Meghan's cries for help and let racism run rampant. Young people are seeing through the charade. That YouGov poll Cohen cites proves it. Support among the youth is plummeting. And instead of asking why, the tabloids and royalists are trying to dump the blame on Harry and Meghan. That's cowardice, plain and simple. Here's what Cohen and the Rota don't want to admit. Harry and Meghan are free. They're happy. They're successful. They've built Archewell. They're producing meaningful content. They're raising their children with love. Meanwhile, the royal family is stuck in a cycle of scandal management, PR wars and infighting. William at war with Charles, Camilla pulling strings, Fergie still tied to Epstein drama, Andrew hiding out at Royal Lodge, and yet somehow the biggest threat is Harry and Meghan living quietly in California. Please. The truth is this, the Rota needs Harry and Meghan. Without them, royal coverage is boring. Nobody cares about William's temper tantrums or Charles's half-hearted speeches about climate change. Nobody is racing to the newsstands for stories about Sophie Wessex. Meghan and Harry are the engine driving royal coverage, even after they left. That's why they'll never stop writing about them, no matter how desperate and unhinged it looks. So when Cohen calls them dangerous, what he really means is they're dangerous to the system of silence. They're dangerous to the machinery of lies that kept the monarchy untouchable for centuries. They've shown the world that royals can walk away, build their own empire, and expose the rot from the outside. That terrifies the institution, and it should. Because here's the reality. The monarchy isn't losing relevance because of Harry and Meghan. It's losing relevance because it clings to outdated traditions, protects predators and sacrifices truth for PR. And no amount of scapegoating is going to change that. Family, let's celebrate Harry and Meghan for what they've done. They refuse to be silent. They refuse to be broken. They are building something bigger and better than the monarchy could ever offer them. They are the example of resilience, strength and independence, and that's why the Rota will never forgive them. So the next time you see one of these ridiculous hit pieces comparing Meghan to Fergie or blaming the Sussexes for the monarchy's downfall, remember this: it's all distraction. It's all smoke and mirrors. The real story is the rot within the institution, not the couple who had the courage to walk away from it. And on that note, I want to thank you, my Royal Sussex Squad family, for standing strong, for supporting the truth, and for never letting the smear campaigns win. Cohen, the Sussexes are just as much of an institutional threat as the Yorks. There's been chatter online among royalists and royal watchers about this week's revelations about Sarah Ferguson and her warm, friendly emails to Jeffrey Epstein after she promised to cut her ties with him. The online chatter has been who in the Windsor clan is gunning for Fergie in particular. It's beyond clear that Prince William is telling everyone that Fergie and Andrew must be completely cut off and evicted from Royal Lodge. It's also clear that William is trying to use this as some kind of issue in his war against his father. But in the past 24 hours, there's been a shift away from the Yorks must be punished even further, to the Yorks and the Sussexes are the same. Is this William too? Is this some kind of Rota WhatsApp talking point? Because two columnists devoted lengthy pieces to the comparison. The Daily Mail's Sarah Vine did a reprehensible and deeply offensive piece suggesting that the Duchess of Sussex and Fergie are almost exactly the same, because Fergie was emailing Jeffrey Epstein and Meghan spoke about how she was victimised by racism. I was going to ignore it, but then Lee Cohen, another unhinged royalist, wrote a GB News column blaming the Yorks and Sussexes for the monarchy's declining popularity. I shit you not dot for an institution that relies heavily on public goodwill, the British monarchy cannot afford to be held hostage by irresponsible, self-serving members. The reputational damage caused by the Duke and Duchess of York and the Duke and Duchess of Sussex has become a corrosive force, eroding support, distracting from the monarchy's core mission and causing the public to question its soundness. Charities, once among the most loyal allies of royal figures, have cut ties with Sarah, Duchess of York. Why hasn't the monarchy done the same, and with the Montecito marauders as well? A recent YouGov poll from August 2025 shows the gravity of the situation. Among 18-24-year-olds, only 30% support retaining the monarchy, while 34% would prefer an elected head of state. Just a decade ago, youth support hovered around 72%. The decline is stark, and it's not hard to see why. In an era demanding transparency, integrity and relevance, the monarchy is struggling to distance itself from scandal, entitlement and betrayal. If the Yorks are a liability due to their ineptitude, the Sussexes are a threat because of their intent. Their departure from royal duties might have been understandable had they done so quietly. Instead, they chose spectacle over discretion, grievance over gratitude. The final years of Queen Elizabeth II and Prince Philip were marred by attacks and thinly veiled accusations from Harry and Meghan. Interviews, documentaries, books, each designed to burn bridges and extract maximum attention. Any entertainment of Harry's returning to public service in Britain should be immediately extinguished. He's shown himself to be dangerous and untrustworthy. The Sussexes' actions have not only commercialised their royal past, but also weaponised it. Faux royal tours, private meetings framed as official duties and self-pitying narratives have overshadowed the real work of the monarchy. It's not reform thereafter, it's relevance and revenue, built on undermining the very institution that gave them a platform. Taken together, the damage from the Yorks and Sussexes forms a perfect storm. One family exploits the past through clumsy opportunism, the other through calculated sabotage. The result? Public trust is diminishing, particularly among younger generations. The monarchy's focus is diverted from meaningful work, such as King Charles III's environmental advocacy or the Prince of Wales's campaigns on homelessness and mental health, to damage control. While outside organisations act swiftly to protect their reputations, the royal family remains overly cautious, perhaps clinging to hopes of reconciliation. But misplaced loyalty and quiet diplomacy are no longer enough. These controversies aren't just sideshows. They threaten the monarchy's very legitimacy. The royal family should now put self-preservation over sentiment. That means formal public distancing, revoking titles where possible, removing references from official websites, and excluding the Yorks from royal events and occasions. The British monarchy has endured for centuries, not by accident but through adaptation. In the 21st century, that means shedding those who cause more harm than good. By decisively removing the Yorks and Sussexes, the king can restore focus, regain public confidence, and pave the way for a stronger and more respected monarchy. From GB News, I just got a flashback to 2019 when every time there was some new story about Andrew's connections to Jeffrey Epstein, dozens of anti-Sussex stories were commissioned. Which is why I asked that question in the opening, is this Buckingham Palace, is this Kensington Palace, or is this just the ultra-royalist extremist view that Harry and Meghan must be the designated scapegoats for any given royal? By decisively removing the Yorks and Sussexes, the Sussexes removed themselves to California more than 5 years ago. And they've only tried to tell their own stories with their own voices after being smeared, attacked and bullied for years. Beyond that, I think it's incredibly funny that Cohen blames the Sussexes themselves for the monarchy's unpopularity, and not the monarchy for how they treated Harry and Meghan. Make sure you hit that subscribe button, drop a like, and if you appreciate the work we're doing here to shine a light on the truth, don't forget to hit that super thanks button to support the channel. Together, we're making sure Harry and Meghan's voices are heard above the noise. Stay strong, stay united, and as always, squad up.